Today, we're diving into the blueprint behind every great school system. It's all about how we manage curriculum and assessment.
It's a huge question, right? How do you make sure every single student gets a fantastic education, no matter which classroom they walk into? We all want that, but how do we actually pull it off?
Well, here's the thing. If you don't have a solid system in place, learning can pretty much be left to chance. What one student learns in one room could be totally different from what another learns just down the hall. And that creates these gaps, these unequal opportunities. The good news is, it's a problem we can absolutely solve.
And that solution is called curriculum management planning. Seriously, just think of it as the master blueprint for an entire school district. It's the system that makes sure everything, from what gets taught to how we know it's been learned, is done with a clear purpose.
Okay, so how does this blueprint actually work? It's not some dusty binder sitting on a shelf. Nope. It's a living, breathing cycle, and it's broken down into 3 main phases.
And here we can see the whole process in action. It's this continuous loop. It all kicks off with a needs assessment, basically figuring out where you are right now. That information then fuels the planning and design phase. From there, you move into implementation. And here's the magic part. The results from that implementation, they feed right back into the beginning, starting the whole process over. It's all about constant improvement.
So let's break that down a bit more. Each of those 3 phases has specific jobs or functions inside it. Take planning and design, for example. It's not just one thing. It's the whole shebang, building the development cycle, figuring out the scope and sequence, designing tests, writing the actual curriculum guides. You get the idea. Every phase has these critical jobs. So let's start at the very beginning, with phase 1.
All right, phase 1. This is the starting block. It's non-negotiable for any district. I mean, think about it. Before you can build a house, you have to survey the land, right? That's exactly what a needs assessment is. And what's it all about? It's about finding the gap. That's the key. It's a structured way of asking a really simple but powerful question. Where are our students right now? And comparing that to where do we really want them to be?
So how do you do it? Well, first, you ground yourself in the district's mission and vision. Then you start gathering data, all of it. We're talking hard numbers like test scores, but also the qualitative stuff, surveys, conversations with teachers. Once you have all that, you can see the gaps clearly. And, this is so important, you can prioritize which ones need your attention right now.
Okay, once you know what needs fixing, it's time to draw up the blueprint. That brings us to phase 2, planning and design. The whole goal here? To get rid of chance. We're trying to create a super clear, intentional map for learning that ensures every single student has a path to follow.
Now, this isn't about, throwing everything out and starting from scratch overnight. No way. A really important tool here is the curriculum development cycle. Think of it as a long-term calendar that helps you review and update different subjects in a manageable, systematic way. And this is a great example of what that looks like in the real world. You can see how one year, math might be in its needs assessment phase, while language arts is in curriculum development. By staggering the work like this, you can be thorough without burning everyone out. It's just smarter. Okay, 2 really critical ideas in this phase are scope and sequence. Scope is what you teach, the breadth and depth of all the content. And sequence is when you teach it, the logical order it's presented in. Getting this right is everything. If the scope is off, students end up with big gaps. If the sequence is wrong, they're trying to build the roof before the foundation is poured. It just doesn't work.
So all this planning comes together in one place, the curriculum guide. This is the teacher's playbook. A really good guide isn't just a list of stuff to cover. It links to standards, it tells you what skills kids need before they start, it points to materials, and it even gives you some examples of what to do in the classroom. It takes that big, grand plan and makes it real and usable.
But how do we know if any of it's working? I mean, how do we know if students are actually learning what we want them to learn? That is the million-dollar question, right? And that's where assessment planning comes in. Here's an example of what a district-wide assessment plan can look like. Don't worry about the specific names of the tests, just focus on the idea. A plan like this maps out every single assessment for every grade. It makes sure that testing is purposeful, not just a random pop quiz. It's basically the quality control system for learning. All right, on to the final phase, where the rubber meets the road. A plan is only as good as its execution after all. This is the implementation and evaluation stage.
Now, implementation isn't just one step. It's actually got 4 key parts that all work together. You've got staff development, you got to train the teachers, then there's monitoring, checking to make sure what's written on paper is what's actually happening in the classroom. Next is using all that assessment and data to make smart adjustments, and finally, program evaluation, where you step back and ask the big question. So, did this whole thing actually work?
And we can't ever forget this. All of these systems, all these plans and cycles, they're all designed to do one thing, and that's to support teachers. Because at the end of the day, they are the most important factor in whether a student learns.
Which brings us full circle, right back to where we started. The goal isn't to create some perfect curriculum and then just, dust off your hands and walk away. The real goal is to build a system that keeps getting better.
And here we are back at our model. If you look closely, you'll see that the data you get from program evaluation, that final step, it doesn't just end there. It becomes the raw material for the next needs assessment. It kickstarts the cycle all over again, but this time, you're smarter. You're starting from a much more informed place.
I really love this way of thinking about it. A curriculum isn't supposed to be a checklist of things to get through or a series of hurdles to jump over. It should be a map, a guide that's thoughtfully designed to lead students to a real deep understanding. So I'll just leave you with this one question to chew on. The curriculum you know, is it a real map for learning, one that actually guides the journey? Or is it just a list of destinations with no clear path to get there? Because that difference, well, it's everything.